everyone. Hello and welcome to the March 25th edition of the Sidereal Insights Astro Update. I'm 𝗦𝗱𝗲. I'm the artist and astrologer of Mystick, Physick, Astrology, and I use Western Sidereal astrology in my practice to help you reconnect with your soul purpose and just to kind of remember why you came to this world to begin with. And my aim with this broadcast really is to provide guidance for you on how we can consciously use the energy of the transiting planets to affect our lives in a positive way. But we're working specifically with the Sidereal zodiac, the 𝗦𝗱𝗶𝗵𝘁𝘀 zodiac, and so I'm going to post a link in the comments for anyone who might be joining us who may need to look up their sidereal natal chart. And the reason for that is because your sidereal natal chart is often different than your tropical natal chart. And so hold on just a moment while I refresh the feed, and then we'll jump right into today's Astro update. Retrograde's almost over. Are you excited about that? I know I am. Can't wait. Okay, so here we go. This is a link. For anyone who needs it, you can get your sidereal natal chart right there. Just pop your birth information into the chart calculator and it'll give you a copy of your chart. You can take a quick screenshot of it. We're mostly concerned on this broadcast with your sidereal sun sign and your sidereal rising sign, but there are occasions when we talk about specific degrees and signs depending on what type of activity is going on the broadcast. So it's always a good idea to have it handy when you're joining us live. So let's talk about where we're at so far for the month of March, all right? So the month is almost over, and if you will, take a moment, like and share the broadcast, tag a friend if you know someone who might enjoy joining us in the discussion today. You can follow Mystick, Physick, Astrology, of course, on Facebook, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. But today we're talking about what the current transits are going on right now. Mercury retrograde's almost over. We've been talking about how you can leverage that, so I'm going to kind of recap where you should be right now and where you should be kind of positioning yourself for the next couple of weeks to, I don't know, the next couple of weeks, let's say. We're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming new moon in Pisces, and we're also going to talk about next month coming up. We have some more retrograde activity, and so just kind of want to give you a preview on what that will be. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Now, right now, we have the sun in sidereal Pisces, okay? This is until the 15th of April when he's going to move into sidereal Aries. Now in Aries, the sun, this is really kind of energizing. It's stimulating of life, right? This is the idea of the germination of seeds previously planted. And so that's speaking specifically to the area of life governed by Aries in your sidereal natal chart. So if you want to kind of peek ahead to April, have a look at where Aries is in your sidereal natal chart. Right now, while we're still in Pisces, Sun in Pisces is an excellent time to rest, retreat, kind of reflect, tap into a spirit of selfless service, just to kind of conserve and recharge your energy as we prepare to move into Sun in Aries, which is much more demanding energetically. So this is a good time just kind of rest up and recoup so that you're fresh for next month when the energy is a lot more active, a lot stronger, and we're all going to be a lot busier in some ways. In some ways, life will be a little bit slower because we're moving into retrograde season next month. So Venus has entered Aquarius. Venus moved into sidereal Aquarius on the 22nd, just a couple days ago. She left Capricorn for Aquarius. She's going to be there for about 3 weeks or so. And you know, Venus in Aquarius, this is more of a little bit of an eclectic expression in terms of style, appearance, what we appreciate in terms of beauty, right? So I would say when you have Venus positioned in Aquarius, you're looking at an energy that really wants to move into true equality and authentically free expression. Okay, this is a very balanced energy in the sense of we're tapping into that egalitarian nature of Aquarius potentially, but also that balanced Venus energy. And so the two are blending here into an energetic expression that encourages greater focus on the collective during the time that Venus is in Aquarius for this 3-week-long period. So we can more easily recognize where we have shared values across broader swaths of humanity, and we can kind of tap into those shared values to really connect with each other while Venus is there. And that's definitely something I would encourage you to leverage in the next 3 weeks while we have Venus in Aquarius. Mars moved into Taurus the day after, so on the 23rd. This is a 6-week long transit, so a bit longer, about twice as long as Venus transiting a sign. Mars is a little bit slower. Now, Mars in Taurus, this is kind of interesting because Taurus is a little bit more sluggish energy, right, than Aries normally is, and Mars rules Aries. Mars is a very active and kind of an aggressive type of energy. When it's modified by being in Taurus, we see a more passive side, and in some cases, kind of a more passive aggressive side to Mars. It's also a little bit more suited to defensive tactics over aggressive tactics, and so this might manifest as being more resolute, more headstrong, more stubborn, where you're still trying to drive to get your way and the people around you are driving to get their way, but it's less outright aggression and initiative that is normally more typical of Mars. So Mars and Taurus, a little bit different expression of that aggression. Just kind of keep note, that's about a 6-week long transit, so the next month and a half we're going to be exploring that. Also, so the Mercury retrograde is about to wrap up. It's going to be done on the 28th, thank God. But Mercury won't emerge, from his retrograde shadow until about mid-April. So it's going to take a little while to get Mercury back up to speed. Don't plan a lot right around the 28th. That's a particularly sensitive time. Mercury can be erratic and unpredictable. Okay, give that day some space. Remember what we talked about on the last broadcast. Now, we also talked about on the last broadcast and the one before how you can use this retrograde of Mercury backtracking through Pisces, backtracking through Aquarius to figure out what it is you need to do, what changes you need to make going forward to put you and keep you on the path of actualizing the life that you really want. Remember, we were talking about getting specific about what's really important to us, right? So you hopefully by now you've worked through that process, right? You've decided what is that most important outcome. You've gotten clear on what your dream is, right? So now that we have Mercury in Aquarius, it's time to articulate your vision. Okay, so these last few days of Mercury retrograde, use that time to articulate your vision, whether that's getting it down on paper, whether that's doing it digitally, whatever it takes, to put that into words or images, whatever serves you best. Use these I would say the next week and a half to do that while Mercury gets back up to speed. And that way by mid-April, you can be ready to really be implementing towards those hopes and dreams and goals in a new and refreshed way that gets you back on track. Okay. Now in April, we do have our annual kind of slowdown kind of getting underway. We're going to have Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto all enter retrograde during the month of April. So I do want you to keep that in mind as we move through the summer months in the northern hemisphere, winter months in the southern hemisphere. Things slow down because those outer planets are entering retrograde, and that affects all of us in different ways, but it affects all of us. So as you're making plans, just be aware that those outer planet transits will affect the coming months. I would say up to the next 5 months or so. Most of these are longer term transits. Jupiter retrograde is not quite, I think, a 5-month long transit. But like I was saying, mid-April is really going to be about implementing towards those hopes and dreams, right? So Mercury conjoins Neptune early next month. And I want to call this date out. You can mark it in your calendar. I want you to make a note of the degree and sign and have a look at your sidereal natal chart to see if you're going to be directly affected by this. So Mercury conjunct to Neptune, this is a time when secrets could potentially be coming out, or hidden information could come to light, or deception can be a theme, whether it's uncovered or ongoing, right? Or initiated under Mercury conjunct to Neptune transit. Neptune confuses and obscures what he touches, right? And Mercury, of course, being the planet of communication. So there's a real risk of misunderstanding, miscommunication. It can be inadvertent. It could be deliberate. So just be aware and be clear. Gossip and scandal are also a real risk at this time, okay? Because the meetup is happening in Sidereal Aquarius. Now, the other thing, flip side, to be aware of is that inspiration will run high with this transit. Film, writing, poetry, Meetups around those activities and spiritual activities such as group meditations. Those are all excellent ways to channel the energy of our Mercury-Neptune conjunction taking place on the 2nd of April. Okay, so if you have a planet or a personal point at 22 degrees of Aquarius in your sidereal natal chart, you'll be more strongly affected than folks who don't have anything there. And then, of course, you'll want to read the April overview and short reports for a little bit more detailed information by sign on that particular conjunction. The new moon in Pisces comes up just a few days after that on the 5th of April. Neptune is still in close enough proximity to Mercury during that particular new moon to kind of cast a fog over it, right? So communications may be unclear. Words will be granted the power of illusion. This is an energy you can tap into to use effectively and productively and healthfully, right? So be aware that there are ways that you can put this energy to positive use. Venus, very artistic planet. She's going to gain ground on Neptune just coming into that new moon. She'll be conjoining Neptune not too long after. So you have Venus flavoring this new moon as well, right? So she's going to be taking on that kind of Neptunian dreamlike quality as she approaches that conjunction. So you can harness these energies. I wrote in the April column that this particular new moon can support imaginative and inventive group efforts, including things like team problem solving, any group activity or endeavor that requires a degree of creativity and cleverness, okay? Especially cleverness at creating illusion. Community theater, excellent activity for this particular new moon in Pisces coming up on the 5th of April. Now, that's really all I have to talk about for this broadcast, other than there are a few announcements. It's not too late, keep in mind, to do your full moon releasing practice. We just had our full moon in sidereal Virgo. Remember, you have 10 days after the full or new moon for your practice. So I'll share a link for that in the comments. That way, if you haven't done the practice, if you still want to do your full moon releasing practice for the full moon in Virgo, definitely do that. The April overview and short reports were posted to the website just a little bit earlier today. So read up. There's a lot going on in April. We will not have the full horoscopes by sign this month, so be sure to read the April overview and your short report for your sidereal sun sign and your sidereal rising sign to get a more complete picture. It is a longer monthly overview because I'm not writing the full horoscopes by sign this month for you. So it's a little bit more in depth. There's more information. It's about, I don't know, half again as long maybe as a normal horoscope. But definitely read that, and then join me coming up for the new moon intention setting for the new moon in sidereal Pisces. That's going to be happening in the Sidereal Insights Astrology community here on Facebook at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 2:30 a.m. British Standard Time, and 1:30 p.m. the next day, the 5th. I think that's actually for the UK as well, for Australian Standard Time. Australian Eastern Standard Time? I think it's Australian Eastern Standard Time. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, please. Anyway, but join us because we're going to be doing our new moon in Pisces intention setting practice on April 4th, and we'd love to have you join us live for that. So thank you so much for catching us live, and we'll see you again next time.